go ahead from the back that we're good to go? Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so adoption of the agenda, start with administration, any additions, omissions? Council? Councillor Kuchen?
I'll move the agenda be adopted as presented.
Thank you, Councillor. Motion on the floor, with that I'll call the question, all in favor? Thank you, Councillor Dean. Motion's accepted. We are early, just checking procedurally, I know we advertised for 5:15, we are early, should we do an RFD ahead of time?
We can, sure.
Okay,
I'm gonna do minutes.
oh, we haven't done a minute yet, sorry. Minutes, sorry, 4.1, sorry, council meeting minutes, August 13th, 2025. Councillor Wilhelm,
Motion that we adopt the minutes of the meeting of August 13th, 2025 as presented.
thank you, Councillor. Discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call that question, all in favor? That's carried. Alright, move on down here to 7.2 road line painting policy.
Jeff, they went.
Just, okay, let's go 7.3 then. CSR 1.001 benefits program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just as, perfect, Evan, it's all yours.
Good evening, Reeve and Council. Before you today is the benefits program policy that we have made amendments to. The Community Services reviewed this and these are changes that they're proposing. What this is going to do is add some little tweaks to how the program works. And we're removing the application and procedures out of the policy so that if we need to make changes to that, we don't have to keep coming back. So it keeps that focused. The changes are all basically listed if you have any questions. And then we're moving this into the new format of the policy, so we will be rescinding the previous policy and renaming it or adopting it in the new policy, in the new format. So if you have any questions,
Council, any questions on this item? Not seeing any, but somebody wants, we had two motions here on the table for this one, Councillor Prestige.
Make a motion, the council rescind policy 6211 benefits program.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question, all in favor? It's moved, and we have a second, Councillor Kuchen.
I'll move the council adopt policy CSR -1.001 benefits program as presented.
Thank you, Councillor. Again, call the question, all in favor? That one's moved. So time for another one, we'll get 7.2, road line painting policy. Mr. Zhang?
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. Before you is the policy for road line painting. This original policy was adopted in 1994. It does not reflect the current county practices and has updated reference, and as part of our effort to modernize our policy structure, we have undertaken the review for this policy. We have proposed a number of changes. Number one, removing reference that county will paint lines on secondary highways. This was prior to the year 2001. The county used to paint or look after secondary highways. Number two, recognizing that the county staff have been painting all center lines and edge lines on paved roadways, which are hot mix roads, through the years, where the current policy from 1994 suggests that we only paint center lines on paved roadways. So this policy update, I just want to take the opportunity to reflect our current practice. And also the 1994 policy suggests that the county will provide line painting once every 3 years. which lines don't last 3 years nowadays. Typically they last somewhere between 1 to 2 years. Therefore, I also want to take the opportunity to reflect the current industry standard. We want to expand the policy to cover center lines, edge lines, lane markings, and pavement messages. The current policy, the 1994 policy is silent on lane markings as well as pavement messages. Number 4, we want to remove any policy duplications in terms of directions on purchasing, which is already covered by the purchasing policy. There's no point repeating the same practice twice in 2 different policies. And lastly, we want to separating the policy as part of the regular updates. Nowadays, we separate the policy into policy and procedure, so it allow administration an easier update to technical items. So that's the summary of all the updates we want to do. As I mentioned, the updated policy is not intended to change the current in practice level of service. It's simply trying to document what we currently do and our current funding level. There's no increase in funding need with the change of policy. As I said, it's simply trying to capture and cover the current practice. That's my presentation. I'm open to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Burrows?
I know it's really not part of the policy necessarily, but you did mention that it used to say that we do things at 3 years and now you're moving to what, 2?
I'm sorry, through the chair to Councilor Burrows, I am making in the new policy, I use the word assessment based. So it's based on the condition, not based on a fixed number.
And I guess my question, sorry, through the chair to administration is there no way we can get a paint that lasts longer than 6 months? Like, I thought we were moving forward in technology and everything. Like, is there, it's a lot of cost, and I'm just curious, like, where did we?
So through the chair to Councilor Burrows, in the 60s, the lead based paint, they last for a long time, but they are they're hazardous to our environment. The same thing with solvent based, so oil based paint in the 80s. They're also harmful to the environment. We have moved away from those paints because of environmental liabilities. Nowadays, the choices are between alkaline based paint, which damages the pavement because alkaline reacts with actual oil, or the more common product is water-based paint. Because they're water-based, they
wash right off.
Pay for a premium product. There's another premium product that's acetone-based paint. The cost is substantially higher, and I don't see a financial case for it.
Okay.
And if you don't want to go with those disposable type of paint, then the next option is thermoplastic, which is permanent paint. And again, for a rural municipality like us, there is no financial case for it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Burrows?
If you're with that, I'd move that council adopt policy ISR-6203 road line painting policy as presented.
Thank you, Councilor. Discussion on that policy or that motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? And Councilor Prestige?
See,
Went backwards there.
yeah, council rescind policy 3213.
Thank you, Councilor. Discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's moved.
Thank you.
Okay, we're getting close to our advertised time, so we can start here. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. With that, I'll introduce myself. We'll move into our public hearing here. My name is Dave Cush. I am the current Riva Woodlands County and Councillor for Anselmo. We'll start by going around the table here. Councillor Wilhelm, if you could introduce yourself, so public.
Jeremy Wilhelm, Whitecourt East.
Peter Pilkin, Goose Lake, Freeman River.
Councillor Burrows.
Sorry. My name's John Burrows. I'm councillor for Ward 2 Whitecourt West.
Bruce Prestige, councillor for Blue Ridge, Division 5.
Joining us online, Councillor Dean.
Thank you. Alan Dean, Councillor, Whitecourt Central.
Thank you. Before we begin, I'd like to note that during a public hearing, we were reminded to respect the views of everyone and allow each individual their time to speak without interruption. Each person wishing to speak has up to 5 minutes to make a presentation to council. Members of the public wishing to speak in relation to the public hearing subject will need to state their full name, identify their address within Woodlands County, and whether they are speaking for themselves or for another person or group. All discussions of members of council, administration, and the public shall be directed through the chair. Council does not debate these matters during a public hearing, and the decision regarding whether to grant the bylaw further readings will be dealt with after the close of the public hearing. Public hearings are to allow input on facts and offer the public an opportunity to provide their feedback. The public hearing is not intended to be a question and answer period. With that, questions and comments must be limited to items concerning the bylaw. 630/25, the proposed draft land use bylaw. And we are about a minute early here, but I now will call the public hearing for bylaw number 630/25 open here at 5:14. With that, I ask Mr. Raposo, the Director of Planning Services, to provide the purpose and background for this hearing. Mr. Raposo?
Thank you, Chair. So I'll go through the background and relevant section of the MJ here as per the public hearing. So this public hearing is being held as required by section 692 subsection 1E of the Municipal Government Act and pursuant to section 216.4 of the MJ. The proposed bylaw 63025 is to update Woodlands County land use bylaw and repeal bylaw 49017 land use bylaw with amendments. Public hearing is to provide an opportunity for members of the public who may be affected by the proposed bylaw 630/25 to voice any concerns or comments they may have prior to council considering bylaw 630/25 land use bylaw for consideration of second reading. So the background on the bylaw. Administration's we've been conducting review of the bylaw for approximately 18 months. The council gave first reading to bylaw 630/25 at its regular council meeting on August 13th, 2025. And scheduled a public hearing at the following times and locations. Woodlands County Municipal Office Council Chambers in Fort Assiniboine on Tuesday, September 9th at 5:15 p.m. and today at 5:15 p.m. at Woodlands County Municipal Office Council Chambers, number 1, Woodlands Lane, Whitecourt, Alberta. The public hearing was advertised for 2 consecutive weeks in the Town and County Barhead Leader and in the Whitecourt Press. The advertisement advised Woodlands County residents of the public hearing and the opportunity to attend the public hearing, provide written submissions on the proposed draft land use bylaw. The newspaper advertisement ran in the newspaper the week of August 25th and the week of September 1st, 2025. A notice of the special council meeting to hold the public hearing was advertised on Facebook and on our website. The times of the public hearing were also added to the county land use bylaw update page and on our website. Bylaw 630/25 was referred to the following adjacent municipalities and government agencies: the town of Whitecourt, Lac St. Anne County, Greenview County, the county of Barhead, Yellowhead County, Big Lakes County, Westlock County, and Alberta Forestry and Parks. The following school boards and divisions were referred to: Living Waters School Division, Pembina Hill School Division, Northern Gateway Public School, Grand Yellowhead School Division, and the following First Nations were referred to: Alexander First Nations and Alexis First Nations. Attached are the comments received. They're attached for council's consideration, and we'll get into those a little bit later. The public engagement overview for this bylaw. Public engagement committee meetings occurred on the following dates throughout the LUB review process. Timeline of the engagement activities: on May 1st, 2024, we held the first ad hoc land use bylaw committee meeting in Whitecourt. On June 18th to 20th, 2024, first public engagement sessions were held with the public. Those were held in Whitecourt, Anselmo, and Fort Assiniboine. On September 17th, 2024, the second ad hoc LUB committee meeting was held in Whitecourt. On October 8th to 10th, 2024, a second public engagement session was held again in Anselmo, Whitecourt, and Fort Assiniboine. November 27th was the third ad hoc LUB committee meeting, and on June 18th of 2025, the fourth ad hoc Love Committee meeting was held in Whitecourt. And on June 15th to 17th, 2025, the third public engagement session was held in Whitecourt and Selmo and Fort Assiniboine. Administration has prepared the following for information only to show some of the high level changes in the draft land use bylaw. This is not an exhaustive list. So overall in the bylaw, there's been consolidations of some districts. An example of this has been the Agriculture 1 and former Agriculture 1 and Agriculture 2 districts are now consolidated under one agriculture district. Streamlined land use definitions. Similar land uses have been grouped to reduce the total number of definitions and enhance clarity. Number 3, tree clearing regulations. A development permit will now be required in some instances. Number 4, updated housing approach in certain districts. The number of potential dwellings per parcels has been increased, subject to applicable zoning regulations. Garden suite changes. The previous requirement in the current bylaw for affidavits has been removed. Applicants may now apply for a permanent secondary home instead. New secondary suite framework. There's more flexible options being proposed for secondary suites, categorizing them as secondary suite internal and external based on zoning. A noise exposure forecast overlay or an NEF overlay has been added to the zoning map to ensure noise sensitive land uses such as schools are not developed near CYZ ZU Airport. Renewable and alternative energy development. A new section supports and introduces regulations for renewable and alternative energy initiatives within the county. Those have been included. Computational processing facilities. New regulations address the growth of these technologies and their compatibility with surrounding uses. Updated hazard land regulations. Revisions address development in flood prone areas, steep slopes and wildfire risk areas. Number 11, simplified subdivision approval. The CAO or their designate has been added to subdivision authority. This allows administration to approve simple subdivisions, expediting the approval process. Additionally, since first reading, administration has made further clerical errors to the draft land use bylaw brought forward at first reading August 13th, 2025. Attached for council in this package is the detailed list of clerical edits. Comments received to date are attached. We received comments from the following municipalities. We received comments from Lesser Slave River, Yellowhead County, and the Municipal District of Greenview, all outlining just some clerical edits that they found, and those have been addressed in the clerical edits table. And that was read as yesterday. The town of Whitecourt also provided a response yesterday, an 8-page response. I'm not gonna read that out for the sake of time, but it is there attached and was sent out in circulation to council for their consideration. There was some recommendations on there and they have been coming up the next RFD. There's some information for under second reading where there has been, I've given submissions to council there. Just outlining some of those edits in a motion. That being said, I would like to just read one comment that we did read. Was a written submission to be consistent with yesterday's hearing. I will read it out. Hi, this is from a Tom Olson of Box 92 in Fort Assiniboine. My concerns are as follows. First off, I don't perceive a need for such a far-reaching bylaw to make landowners' rights to improve their land more prohibitive. Whose definition of responsible land management will be used? The landowners or the counties? It is my understanding that all permits will be issued with conditions. That is the part that really concerns me, as the conditions could easily make any development too restrictive for the landowner. I would like to know who on staff has the expertise to make decisions regarding the impact of tree removal on my property and affecting my livelihood. I encourage council to scrap the entire section of the land use bylaws, that'd be section 9.14. Another concern is the time and day that the public hearing is being held. And that summarizes Mr. Tom Olson's comments. And given the discussion yesterday around the tree clearing regulation, administration further in the motion second reading, we're proposing the removal of section 9.14 tree clearing, the tree clearing regulations of the bylaw. That being said, that concludes my remarks.
Mr. Reposo? Before we get into council questions, I guess on the recommendation for removal of 9.142, for council members that weren't in the chamber yesterday when we were having that discussion, there isn't a whole lot of teeth in regards to implementation or anything on that bylaw as it is. Second thing, we do understand that this is something that was driven by community members, ratepayers who wanted something in here, but the overwhelming response we've been getting has been to go the opposite direction. So that's discussions we had yesterday anyways, and administration's gonna, I guess, has that recommendation when we get to the motion. So with that, I'll open up to any other questions, comments, or concerns from council. Councillor Dean?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I fully support the removal of 914. I do want to just talk about the process with which 9.14 came to the committee. And as the Reeve has mentioned, there were some landowners that had questions about whether the county had any administrative levers to guide tree removal adjacent to densely populated areas. So that's the elephant in the room. That's what the question was surrounding. 9.14 does not address that. And so I fully support removing it. I would suggest that there may be further council consultation on whether or not any levers are possible. They may be possible, they may not, but at this point, 9.14 certainly does not address it.
Any other questions, comments from council? Councillor Prestige?
Through the chair, I fully support removing this section. I do not see why the county has to get involved in what residents can do on their land other than building. To me, it's far overreaching.
Questions, comments, concerns? Not seeing any. Just checking the one here, again for written submissions, we've gone through that covered, so open up to public feedback. Anybody speaking in favor or opposed? And you have up to 5 minutes. I need name, address, and anybody stepping up?
I have a question. If you guys are gonna repeal it, do I need to say what I was gonna say?
It's
Cause it
complete,
basically is what that person said.
our administration's recommendation is to pull.
Okay,
So, but again, this is a public session, so if the public needs to say their piece, so they want to, if you're here, that is completely up to you. At this part of the hearing, we can't legislatively make a motion at this point to actually remove it. We have to do that when we get further down, but just procedurally, we're have to go through all the, step A, step B, and work our way down. But if anybody has any comments or want to say, the recommendation from administration is to remove it. And that's a recommendation from council at this point too, when we get to that part. And again, like we did mention, this was an item that was brought by ratepayers who were looking for something. So we understand that it's contentious on some sides, but we feel that ratepayers, whether they're for or against, need the opportunity to also be heard within the community. So that's how this came apart. With that, I'm not seeing any. I'll move to final council questions, comments. No, so with that, I will call bylaw 630, the public hearing for bylaw 630/25, and consider the adoption of the, yes. So I missed a spot here. September, so yeah, we'll call the public hearing for bylaw 630/25, I guess, closed at 5:21. And we'll move down to the motions here coming up. Consider the adoption of the draft Woodlands County Land Use Bylaw and repealing the old bylaw 490/17. For that, Councilor Rose?
Do you want the motion now?
think we need a motion for closing the public,
Oh, sorry, you haven't closed it yet, my
no,
apologies.
just close the public hearing now. So Joel said, I now declare the public hearing closed. So I'm asking, do you need a motion to close it?
No, I don't think so,
don't
just a
believe so.
declaration.
Just a declaration that is closed.
Yep.
Okay, so we are good that way. So with that, I will move us to 7.1, second and third readings of bylaw 630/25, land use bylaw, and repeal of bylaw 490/17 as amended to be repealed by bylaw 630/25. Administration does have recommendations on our surfaces, but there is also a paper here with the amended first and second motion if we proceed with the removal of the subsequent tree clearing. Councilor Bros,
Yeah, I'll go ahead and look at motion one here. This is gonna be a little bit long.
it's wordy.
It is. So my motion is to give second reading to bylaw 630/25 with the following amendments to the land use bylaw document. Number one, remove subsection 8.14.2, the use of office from the list of discretionary uses. 2, remove the section 9.14 tree clearing in its entirety. 3, remove the word timber from the definition of natural resource extraction and processing. Definitions under subsection 14.1.3. 4, remove subsections 9.2.2.1 and 9.2.2.3 from section 9.2, commercial and industrial development, and renumber 9.2.2.2 to 9.2.2.1. And fifth is to add section 10.1.10 by adding 10.1.10.4. A principal dwelling must be constructed within 5 years from the effective date of the development permit issued for the accessory building.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion on that motion? It's a long one. Not seeing any, I'll call that question. All in favor?
In favor.
Assessment, we have,
He joined at 5:20.
okay. You have it noted, I didn't realize you hopped in there. Moves it, there is on the page there at the bottom, an amended second motion. Councillor Wilhelm,
A motion that council give third reading of bylaw 630/25 with the listed amendments as made under the second reading.
thank you, Councillor. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. And that'll move us through land use bylaw. Thank
We gotta
Do we-
repeal one, right?
We don't have a motion under the repeal, but we should.
It would be in the bylaw itself, it says upon third and final reading, it shall be restored.
With that, we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. We're a couple minutes away from our first delegation. So we'll move to, I'm gonna move to 8.2, application to the province to rename Sawmill Lake.
So. So we received not an application, we received correspondence from the province. They have a entire department that names water bodies. And there had been an issue with Sawmill Lake or Walker Lake. There's been it's located on the southeast of 460-12 west of the 5th. It's approximately 12 kilometers north of Whitecourt. And so there was a history with that where the MD of the time put in a letter of support and then withdrew the letter of support. The town of Whitecourt objected to the naming of the lake to Walker Lake. There's a whole lot of history there that unfortunately isn't fully documented in our files. However, the individuals that put in the naming request with the province have reached back out to name it Walker Lake again. And they, as part of their process, the Alberta Geographical Naming Program asks the municipality where the water body's in, if they have a preference, if they would like to recommend a name, and that sort of thing. Our recommendation to you is that we don't have a position on this administratively. We have no preference whether it's named Sawmill Lake or after the trapper individual that it was named, or proposed to be named from. If council has a position on that, knowing the history and representing your ratepayers, we're happy to take that feedback and provide that letter accordingly. But our opinion is, well, we abstain from making a decision, but if you choose something else, we're happy to advocate for you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Any discussion from council? Councilor Wilhelm?
I'll make a motion that council direct administration to prepare a letter to the province to advise that the county does not have a position on the naming of the lake.
Thank you, councilor. Discussion to the motion? Councilor Burrows?
Sorry, through the chair, I guess to administration, if we don't, is this our decision to name or rename this, or will the province do it if we don't? I guess what I'm saying is, in this motion, we're saying we don't have a position. I'd kind of like to know what the history of the residents would prefer, and I don't have that information, so I just want to make sure if we're not handing that decision to the province.
So, if I may, through the chair, by default, the decision is the province. Our county maps themselves, from what my understanding is in reviewing the historical ones that I've been able to find, we've never actually named the lake on any of our maps anyway. There is some historical information that I would prefer not to discuss in open session, just because of some of the history that caused the issue being controversial, not related to Woodlands County, but interactions with the town of Whitecourt is my understanding. And that was really what triggered a lot of the objections when it was originally proposed to be Walker Lake. So I'm happy to brief and provide that information to council, but I won't be doing it in open session. But ultimately, for your question, it is entirely the provincial government's jurisdiction to establish a lake name. They take our recommendation under serious advisement, but ultimately it is their decision.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? There's a motion on the floor. Call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay, that one is moved. Just checking with administration, as our 8:35 presentation here yet from Anselmo?
I don't know who it is. Heather is your.
And just for any of the public still here, the bylaw, land use bylaw was, before this, we did pass it with the tree clearing, is all out of there, so that portion will no longer be part of the bylaw. Just, if anybody was confused, why don't we add, or the motion that Councillor Burrows made there, it pulled all of that section out of the bylaw land use.
Okay.
So I figure I was waiting for clarification,
Thanks for
sorry.
clarifying.
We thought maybe you guys just wanted to watch the rest of the council.
Don't blame me.
Good work. No.
Can we go too?
Three of them.
Okay. Okay, well,
We have a citizen of Canadian. We have
Well, I don't think we need to take control.
I agree with that. Okay. Because the assessment.
Do you still have the conversation?
cameras, we can get going here again.
Very good.
Okay, perfect, and again, I apologize for the delay, we'll start here, we're at 5:45 with our delegation from Anselmo.
Yes, good evening again, Breven Council. Before you today is a delegation from the Anselmo Recreation Agricultural Society. The president, Megan Black, is here to talk about recent developments and to inform council about an event that happened at their hall. Actually, it was the amenities outside the hall on July 15th. She's gonna go over how it impacted the community, and she's here to answer any questions for you. I'm gonna turn it over to Megan.
Hello, Council. Like Heather had mentioned, my name is Megan Black, and I have the absolute privilege of being the president of the Anselmo Rec and Ag Society. I think that Anselmo is, and I don't mean to be braggy or not or anything, but I think Anselmo just kind of exemplifies the best of what Woodlands County has to offer. Our community and its members are second to none. And anybody who has spent any time in our hall and in our community can attest to that. So July 15th, we had a pretty massive break-in at the hall. And it really, for lack of a better word, it really makes me mad actually when I think about it, because the individual who did the damage to our amenities, to our skate shack and the deck that we have, really just spared no expense of the damage that he did. He decided that he was gonna ram a truck through the bay door where we store our skid steer and the Zamboni for our outdoor rink. He bashed it with a truck that he had stolen, and when he was able to enter the building, he used our skid steer to further take the door out. From there, he took it around the other side and used the skid steer, our own skid steer, to bash open the man door to break into our concession. All because I guess he needed a snack, because the only thing he stole from us was a box of chips and some burgers. We actually got a quote to replace, we have already replaced the bay door, and it cost us about $5,800 just in that. And then we also have a quote to fix the deck because he hit the front deck on our concession building that we have, and jarred it so badly that it needs to be repaired entirely to the tune of about $10,000. He also wrecked the sidewalk. He drove the skid steer on our wooden sidewalk that goes from the building to the skating rink, and smashed that out. So that we haven't had a quote on that yet, but that will probably be a couple $1,000s. So as I'm sure that you can imagine, the impact that has on our community is pretty huge. We're a nonprofit society as an agricultural society, and we're not here asking for help with the repairs to the building because we have insurance to help us with that, and we are currently working through an insurance claim. What I'm here to ask for is a little bit of help with an upgraded security system. We currently have cameras on that side, but there's no alert monitoring. There's no Wi-Fi access over there to have an actual signal that would work. So we have a quote, a couple of quotes for an insurance upgrade, and it is quite substantial. So basically what I'm here for is just to see if you guys maybe would be willing to help us with that. Does anybody have any questions?
Just one, I guess, a point of clarity for council here, given it is an ag society within the municipality. Any of the claims and stuff, their insurance runs through our insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So the more claims, the more it does after a while. I can only assume, like any insurance company, that would start affect the county premiums as well. So any type of extra security, I feel, on that end to maybe help deter or catch some individuals might help in the end. I know I have this in our messages from the hall there, but what was the quote again for the security system?
So there was multiple different levels of it, and it kind of depended on where we landed on what we wanted to do. Like the max package, I believe, Yeah, because not only do, like, in order to feed our signal, our Wi-Fi signal from the hall all the way across the road, there was a substantial upgrade there that would need to happen. And that system would be about $6,300 for that, and then an additional $3,600 to upgrade the security system for the rink and the building on that side.
So ballpark about $10,000.
About 10,000 is what we're assuming. So I have already been in contact with Heather to see if there's any grant availability. And she did send us like I believe it's Alberta Infrastructure
Yes.
grant that could help with some of that, and we're willing to do the work to obviously mitigate the cost as much as possible if we can.
Okay, any questions, comments from council? Councilor Cogan?
Yeah, I think it's great that you bring that to council here, because we're just going into our budgeting process, and that's how we would have to address it. And I'm not gonna say that we're going to say yes or no, because that's not up to me. But you know, I think that you know, all of these things are tragic when they happen.
Yeah.
But I also think that we're, as a county, we're in this together, so we hear you, and we'll see what we can do.
Well, and I don't necessarily think that it's gonna, like, having an upgraded system is gonna be the be all end all, right? But I mean, I think that if we would have had an alarm that went off and sounded, it maybe would have deterred him from proceeding with the amount of damage that he caused, right?
Sound out there carries. There are
Yeah,
residents close enough
Very
by
close,
that
yeah.
also kind of tend to the hall there, so you never know.
Yeah.
Councilor Wilhelm?
Through the chair to administration, this building is a county building, correct?
No.
Oh, it's not, okay.
They are owned by the Egg Society.
I see.
Councilor Prestige?
Through the chair to Megan. Has there been any other break-ins there?
yes. Yeah, so last summer, somebody broke into we run a minor ball program through the Egg Society. And last summer, someone broke into our ball C-can and stole a bunch of ball equipment. So, our minor ball is umbrellaed underneath the Egg Society, so we actually applied for a grant through the through you guys, and you guys gave us some money to help replace some of the equipment that we had lost that way. And then on the other side, like people, like we've had our security cameras on the hall side damaged multiple times over the years. We stopped locking. We have a shed that we store bottles from after events. We stopped locking the door because they kept on breaking the doors down and to steal bottles. So we just, as a board, decided that it was, if they needed them, they clearly needed them worse than we did. So we just stopped locking that stuff up. So.
Councilor Bros?
So just a procedural question, I guess, through the chair. So when this is, we'd want a motion to accept the delegation, and then would council like a motion to forward the request to the 2026 budget discussions? That,
yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to think ahead in my head here, so.
I've already got those notes here, so.
Okay.
Heather?
Through the chair to Councilor Burrows, so we do have our capital operating grant that we do with our community groups. It's done, their applications are due on the 15th of September. And this is something that we talked about, that this could perhaps be put in there, and then it goes to council for delegation for the 2026 budget. However, some of these costs are a little bit larger. We usually match them 50-50. However, some of these groups are saying that 50-50 is not as feasible or as functional as it used to be in this day and age, so we will be including that. I believe we're gonna have a request just dealing with them, but we could do it that way, but this would be, if they need funds now, this was another reason to get them in front of you. If there is an unbudgeted item, or we can wait till 2026, but we could run it through the operating grant or the capital grant program.
And to that comment, if we were to run it through the capital grant program, typically what's a dollar value in that versus what they're asking?
We typically look at the 50-50 split, so we have gone higher, we have had our groups go higher. those members that are on our community services board typically do see that, so we do take that into consideration. Some of our community groups are asking for security system upgrades, or they're looking at applying for security system upgrades, and this would be very significant or similar to that, so it would have an impact that way. So there isn't really a dollar amount, we've gone, it just depends on what they're asking for and budget, and then council decides that in the budget for 2026. There isn't funds in 2025.
That, I guess, from you, Heather, what would you recommend then as far as a second motion on the RFD to forward to your community group or? I'm just, the community we were talking about having it moved to possibly the next budget cycle, but you were talking about maybe for the community grants or discussion there, so I'm just wondering what you feel procedurally would be the best through your department, because your department's the one that does a lot of this with the groups.
Through to the chair, we could functionally put it in, take this as an application in September, then it would come to council when we do deliberations, and we can make decisions from there. It usually goes to the community group or to the community services committee, and then they make their recommendation to council to include it, so that would be the
So
process.
at this point, we just need to accept for information then?
Information,
Okay,
that's my recommendation.
Councillor Prestige?
Through the chair. If you were, your community group, would it have the cash to repair this right now?
Potentially, but with everything else that we're dealing with on top of the alarm system upgrade, like because we have to front the cash to repair the deck and the walkway, and we've already paid out to do like the bay door. So with that as well as the upgrade, I don't think that we have the funds available. And then still operate, right?
I was just wondering if you had the cash to do it, then when the new budget comes out, you could be reimbursed or something like that.
Yeah, we could, but my concern is like, would we have enough cash? Like, as it stands in this moment, we have the money sitting in our account, but we also have to operate through the winter too, right? So my concern is we would run the coffers dry and not have it.
Yeah, and they're typically the funding they get through the province and the county, and the grant funding doesn't come through until
May-ish.
spring, early summer. So it's a long,
But if it was in the budget, we could do it right after New Year's.
so I guess with that, the recommendation from Heather would be just to accept the presentation for information currently and then move it through the community group program in September.
Through the chair, if I may, just to let you know, the insurance company, there was a $5,000 deductible, so they had to pay up front. They think the first check was
It was $5,600 roughly.
Yeah, and then with the 5,000 deductible, so that would have enabled them to, if they didn't have that deductible, to fix what they need to, that kind of, yeah, because they had to go into pocket.
Okay, well, just cognizant of time here. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Yes, thank you for hearing me out.
No worries. And Waylon, hope you have a good time in hockey this year.
Okay.
So see ya.
And can I get a motion to accept the presentation as information? Councilor Rose?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the presentation from Barfield District,
From Anselmo Recreation.
Anselmo Recreation and Agriculture Society for information.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. And that moves us to our Barhead District FCSS Society delegation. Good evening.
Good evening, Reven Councilor. Who are you today are members of the, well, actually, the Executive Director, Savannah Bellick, I keep trying to say her name right, from the Barhead District FCSS, and Bernice Aiken, who is
Yes.
also one of our employees, and I believe James, who is a Woodlands County employee, who I'd like council to all know, who has walked in here on his own today. And we're quite proud of that. So there's been some changes proposed and some ideas, and we have this agreement with the Barhead District FCSS. I believe it was attached, it might not have been, but we do have an agreement. And it is ending in the end of this year, and we're looking at changing some enhancements, and Savannah's gonna go over those with you so that you're aware of the changes that we're doing in Barhead and the Fort Assiniboine residents accessing those services.
Right. Well, good evening, I guess, everybody. So
I'm very, very pleased to announce that Barton District FCSS Society, we're going to be expanding our services in the hamlet of Fort Assiniboine. For the last year and a half, we've been doing 1 day a week out in the fort, primarily providing client support services, but we are going to be expanding to 2 days per week. And so we're wanting to definitely expand more into some of the other programs and services that FCSS currently does offer. So we have historically offered in Fort Assiniboine for the last year, like I said, primarily client support. So that entails a lot of, income support, age paperwork, CPP, a lot of the seniors documentations for CRA. And for the next year coming up, we want to expand more into looking at what kind of emerging needs are coming out of the community, going more into some of the seniors programming, whether it's day programs, whether it's event style, and also expanding our home support program in the hamlet as well. So our home support program we currently offer for the town and county of Barrhead, and going out into Fort Assiniboine and Woodlands County, we can offer light housekeeping services to the seniors populations in that area as well. We'd also like to take a look at strengthening our ESS partnerships with Woodlands County. So that's something that we currently do with the town and county of Barrhead. And again, as we kind of expand the services in the Woodlands County, we'd like to explore that partnership as well. We'd also like to take a look at other collaborative initiatives and other things, like I said, that come out of those emerging needs from the community. We do typically do a lot of tax documentation out at the fort. Bernice can speak on that a little bit. This year alone, we did over 70 tax returns just from the hamlet and the surrounding areas as well.
And that's for low income, and so that's a free service is the income tax, because I believe you guys do it here in Whitecourt too, or here in the office too. I've got a few ideas now because I'll be the one out there. So I have a few ideas. I've seen a few trends already, like we do have some very lonely people that need to make those connections. And you would think, well, it's Fort Assiniboine, everybody knows each other. Actually, they don't. So I want to make those connections with those people. And some of it is caregivers taking care of a partner, and the caregiver is lonely. They need something more in their life. So I'm looking at some of that, and I'm also looking at rural mental health. I want to do a push on that.
So with all of these different services and things that we'd like to expand on, we actually do have the funds from our current agreement to do this for the 2 days a week, offering more services, more events, all of that thing within the current funding that we're being provided. So it gives us this really unique opportunity to kind of give it this bit of a trial run to see how the community feels about it, what difference is it going to make for them, and what can we kind of get off of the ground before we need more money. Are there any questions?
Councilor Coogan?
Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair to Savannah and Bernice. We had a long discussion over the rural mental health thing and how that might be offered to the rural community. And I'm just curious if we're doing it over there, whether that would be an invitation for people all through Woodlands County to be able to access.
We wouldn't limit it to just Goose Lake residents.
No, and that's another thing too that we want to kind of talk about with you guys as well, is kind of expanding some of those services and broadening that border, right? Because right now we are limited to just the hamlet of Fort Assiniboine and Goose Lake areas, and we're already seeing people coming down to the fort office from well outside of that border. So we definitely want to expand that and start being able to deliver programs to the wider areas of Woodlands County.
I want one question we're talking about, like some of the programming and stuff, like we also are tied in with the West End Bus, and they service the Blue Ridge, more so Blue Ridge and Salmo kind of area, not as much in the fort anymore. Are we talking with some of the service like overlapping what they're doing too? Because I know on some of the things when they're doing, especially if it's I don't know if you guys do like the excursion type things or whatever that they're doing, but I know on some of theirs, they're already having some of the programs like uptake concerns. And I'm just, if we have competing in the same area, I don't wanna, like fund one and fund the other and
Yes,
then
no,
create an
absolutely.
area where we're just failing with both.
No, absolutely, and I think a big part of that comes with kind of building that relationship with that West End bus or with other services or things that are going on in these communities, right? And instead of competing, rather partnering together and enhancing those services as a collaboration.
We could advertise for the West End bus.
Councillor Coolin, so you had your hand up there again?
Yeah, I was going to ask if there, is there overlap with FCSS and Whitecourt? Because one of the things that I've discovered in my regional economic development strategies is that the community futures groups, if there's overlap and there's no conversation, there tends to be some tension created there. And, that's what we want to avoid, because we all have to remember that it's the public we serve. And, I like the idea of the collaboration and trying to figure out how all that works, because we are a bit of a, stretched out municipality, you go all the way over to Shining Bank and stuff, so.
And you do see that a lot more in the rural areas, right?
Yeah.
It's not like we're neighboring cities or towns or anything like that. But even for an example, the partnerships that we've built even recently in the last year with Westlock, there's a lot more overlap with the two FCSSs doing joint programming or outings or events and all of these different things that just didn't exist before. And so that's kind of something that we want to draw, and that we've learned a great deal from that, and that we want to now draw on to better enhance all of these other rural communities as well, because it is the people that we serve. And if there's anybody, in all these little nooks and crannies way out in the middle of nowhere that don't know where to access things, we want to have that slight overlap so that we can make sure that we are not missing anybody.
Anything else from council? If you got more there, we're at the end?
One thing that we did want to ask about was the Bridge to Care building. And if there was a contact that we could potentially get in touch with, or if that's something that could be
We're
provided
looking for
to us.
space, is what we're doing.
No, that's, I don't think we can whatever this, but if you were to talk to administration off camera, I'm sure they might be able to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, that's all we needed, thank you.
We're just looking for space.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm not completely sure what their plan is. I know they had plans for the building. There hasn't been a lot of movement on that. And I believe that Heather, you work with her closely, she might be able to help you out with that.
Okay.
Anything else from council before we move here? Councilor Prestige?
I'll make the motion the council receive the delegation presentation as information and direct administration to meet with the Barhead and District FCSS Society to discuss potential new development and service levels serving our residents.
Thank you, councilor. Discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, councilors. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
We're about 10 after. You guys want to take a quick recession or keep going? Okay.
Quick one.
Let's we'll take we'll say 6:15. We'll be back here. It's about 8 minutes on that clock there.
Thank you.
Anybody wants to talk to James? He's walking out the door.
back there. Okay, with that, we'll move on to 8.1, the Whitecourt Indigenous Friends Society Commitment to Truth and Reconciliation Initiatives Letter.
Good evening again, good evening, council. Administration received the attached letter to your RFD from the Whitecourt Indigenous Friends Society President, Faye Beauchamp. And they're just mentioning their request, although they commend us for what we've done so far, they are looking for how we can increase that, and they're urging us to do a few suggestions as they have in their letter. I'm coming to you today to accept as information, or receive as information, I'm sorry, and I can answer any questions if needed.
Any questions from council? Wants to make a motion to accept for information? Councilor Prestige?
I'll make a motion the council receives the letter from the Whitecourt Indigenous Friends Society as information.
Thank you, councillor. Discussion to the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call that question. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. 11A.1, yeah, here, I guess we got section 9, councillor reports and questions. Start number 9, Councillor Prestige.
It's been fairly slow, but last week I went with Bert, our EDO, to the Sightlink conference in Red Deer. That was good, met some good Sightlink guys from US and conversed with a lot of other municipalities. It was the, I think it's called CPAC, it's 30 municipalities in central Alberta that sponsored this. So it's kind of the same as our RITA. And interesting is their RITA is having the same financial problems as our growth board is. So it's kind of common throughout the province now. Other than that, I missed the meeting yesterday because I was ill. So that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Prestige? Nope. Councillor Burrows?
MPC meeting on the 3rd. Everything went well there. And then the public hearing the other day up in the fort. I've been dealing with lots of stuff on the RMA front, but that's the local stuff.
Anything for Councillor Burrows? Councillor Wilhelm?
Yeah, I've been busy working this summer, so haven't attended anything with regards to council. I did want to say, and I think it's not a well-kept secret now, but I'm not running for council again in this next election. So if you guys will indulge me for very quickly, I just want to say some thank yous. So my first thank you will be to council. In the last 4 years, I provided challenge to you guys and you guys provided challenge to me, and I think we've come a long way in 4 years. And one of the hardest parts of the decision to not run again was feeling like I was abandoning you guys after all the hard work we've done over 4 years. I mean, we've butted heads, but also made a significant amount of progress to where we wanted to be 4 years ago. So thank you for letting me be part of that. My other thank yous to administration, to the ones that are here now and the ones that aren't here anymore. You guys allowed me to challenge you as well, while also challenging me to be a better counselor. So thank you for being an awesome administration and getting to where we are now. I think we've made huge strides in 4 years, and I'm really proud of where I'm leaving you guys as a counselor. And then the last is just to the residents that voted me in. I appreciate the ability to represent you, and it was a very hard decision to not run again, but yeah, thank you, and that's all I wanted to say.
Any questions, Councillor Wilhelm?
Just to thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. We can make this really awkward. We got a couple more meetings still with you in the end. We'll have to do this whole thing all over again. Councillor Prestige?
Yeah, through the chair to Jeremy. You have been a big benefit to this council. You he brought a different point of view that we never had before, so thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Very, very analytical, and you have the opportunity, or the ability to see the minute detail and stuff that sometimes we've overlooked and missed, and it's gonna be a big hole to fill for whoever's stepping into your shoes, so again, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Councilor Coogan.
Yeah, I'd like to say thanks too, because you did present some challenges, and I think that we both, because we were kind of newbies here, we kind of learned together how all of this stuff goes together. And one of the things that I really appreciate was the mentorship we had from the three that's, you know, basically brought an acceptance that, you know, they needed to work with us and we needed to work with them. And that's, I think, what made us successful. And I envy your attention to detail. It's something that I'm not as good at, and I'm trying to learn to be better at. So yeah, I think we're gonna miss you. So
Thanks, Peter.
for me, yeah, I think we had a GNP meeting on the 27th, and that was there was a lot of good discussion that happened there. Then on the 2nd of September, with Tegan Hill and the consultant that is doing our branding exercise, there three of us sat down together and we came up with a completely new logo background for the regional tourism, which is Wild Alberta, because what we had wasn't working. What we did, what has happened with the previous structure was not effective, and we've changed that now. And then we had the MPC meeting on the 3rd. I attended the open house or the public hearing last night, and that brings us to today.
Any questions for Councilor Clupin? And online there, Councilor Williams.
Yeah, my name is everyone else. It's been pretty slow, real busy farming, so I haven't done too much, but we did have the Hamlet Hoedown since the last meeting. Attended that, went really well. Lots and lots of people there. They're still having bleacher problems. They're actually in a meeting right now, and I think they're trying to address that. So yeah, everything's looking good on this end, but yeah, that's all I had.
Any questions for Councilor Williams? Councilor Dean?
Thanks. August 26th, we had our Airport Advisory Committee meeting, which was very productive, and followed up the next day with the GNP. And so there was some carryover there, but I think we've gained some traction with our Airport Advisory Committee. And council is going to be asked to schedule a special meeting to deal with all things airport. Yesterday, along with Dave and Peter and John, I attended the public hearing in the Fort. And in between that, just fielded numerous calls from residents about the land use bylaw.
Thank you, Councilor. Questions for Councilor Dean? Mine have had a few meetings here over the last couple of weeks. I had lunch meeting with some of the industry members, especially the mills and that kind of higher emitters, with the CEO of the Emissions Reduction Alberta. We kind of had a lunch, and they were talking about some of the programming and the grants and the funding that they have available, and how they're kind of an arm's length entity from the province. They I guess operate in their own, but they're funded and they have different requirements and how they fund. They were talking about the CAP program also, and how there are a lot of industry players in the area who are actually pulling out of it. They don't have, with the way that it's set up now, you don't really have to be part of it to accept some of these grants and stuff that are coming, and some of the I guess the CAP program, some of the stipulations and things that people were working towards haven't really come through the way that they were hoping. So looks like a lot of people, at least in regards to the conversation we were having there around the province, are slowly backing out of that program that was set up. I had a meeting, an H Park meeting, talked around, one of the biggest focuses they had was around, and something I didn't realize, but housing problems when it comes to a lot of the students, because the students, they move around when they're doing their different tenures for different parts to different parts of the provinces or different communities to work in the different schools, but they also said a lot of these individuals also have mortgages or leases, or some of them have family members and stuff back in the community, and they're moving, you know, from still having a home somewhere else than having to pay for something in another area while they're doing their schooling, and a lot of the hardships that's incurring currently. They do have some housing specifically designated for students that are coming through, but they're also finding that a lot of the students that are coming through in these programs aren't your 18, 19-year-old, you know, like early 20 college kids. Some of these people are in their 30s and 40s and have families and they're moving. So when you have a 3-bedroom property, instead of having 3 different students in there, now you have a family in there for one student. So lots of challenges in that, and it's not just this community, it's all communities across, I'm assuming, Canada-wide are kind of facing this, but our focus was obviously around our region. Another thing coming out of H Park, and this is tomorrow at 4 o'clock, love to see some more council and administrative participation if we can at the H Park barbecue. It's a thank you for healthcare professionals within the area. They put it on. It's a free program for residents and, you know, people alike. Last year they had it, I think it was Original Joe's catered the event. So it was really good food. There's a lot of prizes. The county has a gift basket that they're giving out. I unfortunately won't be there. I have to go back to Westlock for conference that I'm signed up for. But if there is anybody from council who's able to get there for 4 o'clock to at least give congratulations and a thank you to the healthcare professionals, it would be greatly appreciated. Brings us to, we had a couple of GMP meetings which were covered, and then last night, and a lot of the discussion that we had at our public hearing last night kind of set some of the tone, which we felt was gonna kind of roll into today, and the discussion that we had through the public hearing with council, and then even after the cameras were done rolling, I guess ultimately led to the decision that we had there to remove that section. So that is where I'm at. Any questions, comments?
Can I just add one
Councilor Prestige?
to mine?
Yeah.
When I was at the conference last week, on the second day after lunch, we had the opportunity to either go golfing or horseback riding. I chose a tour of the Olds College. Very impressive. I can't believe the stuff they're doing there. They had a autonomous crop sprayer and seeder on display, which in turn, I couldn't figure out why they offered electrical course. It's an apprenticeship. And I asked the guy, why do you offer that? He said, well, the electronics that are coming in the new equipment, we've got to train these young guys how to run it and look after it. So if you ever get a chance to go to Olds College, definitely go look. It's really impressive.
All right, thank you, Councillor. With that, can I get a motion to accept council reports for information? Councillor Coogan?
Yeah, I'll move that we accept the council's reports for information.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, I will call the question. All in favor? And that's moved. Brings us down to 11A.1, the County Fire Service update. Mr. Shep?
Good evening, council. I don't know if you bring up the presentation. Nope. Okay. Excellent. In front of you, I don't know if you have the presentation in front of you. There's a PowerPoint on your.
It's in our package.
Okay, perfect. So tonight I bring an update from 2024, just on operations from the County Fire Services side of things. We'll get it right into the presentation itself. So page 2 on your presentation in front of you outlines the 4 stations that we have within the county. We have Station 2, they currently have 23 members. Station 3, which have 19 members, thank you. Station 4 has 9 members, Station 5 has 9 members currently. Next slide. In 2024, there was 152 calls between Station 2 and 5. Station 1, which is the town of Whiteport, they had 86 calls In total for 2024, there was 238 911 calls that came through to county and town fire services. Next slide, please. Just a breakdown of the stations themselves. So Station 2 is Fort Assiniboine. 2024, they had 80 calls, 1,124 staff hours, and average of 7 responders per call. Those calls were made up of structure fires, wildland fires, vehicle accidents, mutual aid to EMS, mutual aid to other stations within the county, and other areas, municipalities themselves. Next slide, please. This slide here just shows you a breakdown from 2022, had 61 calls, 2023, 71 calls, 2024, 80 calls, and it just shows you a breakdown and graph of the call volume per types of calls. So they have a major, they do a lot of EMS calls and backing up AHS with their MFR program. Next slide, please. Station 3, which is Blue Ridge, 2024, they had 39 calls, so 308 staff hours on an average of 4 responders per call. Again, those go on to structure fires, wildland fires, public service for the RCMP, accidents, vehicle accidents, and then mutual aid to EMS and other agencies or other stations within the county. Next slide. This one again shows you a breakdown of the calls that between 2022, 36 calls, 2023, 39 calls, 2024, 39 calls. And it just gives you an idea of what types of calls they go more on. Next slide shows you Station 4 and Selmo, 2024. They had 12 calls, 99 staff hours, and an average of 4 responders per call. Again, goes over the types of calls, nothing really new there. Next slide, please. And Selmo, in regards to graphs, they can see there 2022 they had 20 calls, 23 they had 12 calls, and 24 12 calls. Again, it just breaks it down and shows you the types of calls. Station 5, Goose Lake, so they had 17 calls in 2024, 72 staff hours, and an average of 2 responders per call. Again, they respond to all types of calls just like the other stations. Gas leak and mutual aid to other stations as long with the town. They go to the town if need be. Next slide, please. This one here is just a breakdown of your calls. 2022, 22 calls, 23, 19 calls, 24, 17 calls. And just shows you the breakdown of the types of calls and years. This one here is Station 1, Whitecourt. This is the data that was provided to us from the town of Whitecourt. So in 2024, they had 86 calls, which was already noted. And it just gives you a breakdown of the types of calls that they respond to within District 1 and District 3. Julie comes through. Next slide, please. So in 2024, lots of training took place. We did and we have grants through the GOA, Government of Alberta, the Fire Service Training Program grant. We have put on and we will be putting on NFPA Level 1 firefighter standard training. Within that standard, there's 2 levels. So it's super important we start at the ground level and build our way up in building blocks. And then after we're done and completed Level 1, we move on to Level 2 within that same standard. So we're doing that. There was a NFPA 1051 wildland firefighter course that was put on. Fire suppression, so we did some training with structural fires, wildland fires, vehicle extrication for the stations that have that level of service. Wildland urban interface with working with Alberta Wildfire. We do a lot of calls potentially with them in the summer and spring and fall time. And knowing their equipment, how it works, how to run a pump, and vice versa, right? So they know how to, if we ask them to go and grab a hose off the truck, they know where that's located on the truck. Standard first aid is a big one. Medical first responder, MFR through Station 2. High angle rescue awareness, swift water rescue technician, ice water rescue awareness, and hazmat awareness and operations. So lots of different training that we've done within the county the last year, and we continue to do that. Next slide, please. This one here is showing your training hours per station. So station 2, almost 3,415 hours for training hours that members have put in. Station 3, Blue Ridge, 1,508, Anselmo 843, and this is a dark purple, so I think it says 703. I believe it's 703 hours for Goose Lake. Next slide, please. Service awards are very, very important. 2024, we had service awards that were handed out. We had 5 years of service for Station 3 member Jason Morrison. We had a 10-year handed out for Station 2 member Lynn Marcellus. We had 15 years handed out for Station 2 Devin Williams and Station 3 Ryan Wilson. And 25 years of service to Station 3 Richie Wilson. Slide. As you are aware, in 2024, there was the Jasper incident. We were deployed through the government of Alberta. We sent several units and members, myself as well, went to help the GOA and municipality of Jasper cope with the incident. In total, we put 777 hours for 5 firefighters. Engine 31, which is out of Blue Ridge, that was there for 14 days at 187 hours, and myself was there total of 17 days at 216 hours for that incident. So lots of time spent helping Jasper and the GOA out. Community engagement events are very, very important, and we do a lot of those. The photos say 1,000 words, right? So Blue Ridge puts on their events, Fort Assiniboine puts on events, getting involved with the community, showing the equipment off, having the doors open, come on in, check things out. Gets people interested to join the ranks as well. We're always looking for new people to come in and help out where they can. So super important we do that, and we'll continue to do that. That's the end of the presentation. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Know that our fire services and the individuals that we have and volunteer, we were fortunate enough to be able to have a recognition night for them this year, which I'm hoping administration keeps in the budget moving forward. And it was a huge thank you to the fire services and to you, Sheldon, and everything in your department and those departments too. We appreciate it, and I know the residents appreciate it. I have neighbors who have required the services of a couple of our halls, and the service is second to none. So thank you for everything that you guys do. Councillor Coogan?
Yeah, through the chair, and this is to administration, and I'm probably gonna pound on the same thing that I pounded on. I appreciate the service. There's definitely a good service that's provided, but I think my concern is more about exposure to different things to the municipality, and I'm really interested because I've been here for 4 years and there's still no update on the SOGs or any of that stuff. And I've talked with Mr. Ferris about that, and he says that the possibility of that doesn't exist right now. And I'm just wondering as well, Matthew, if we need to have a discussion on policy 2301, whether that should be put to GNP, and that's on the first and second call with firefighters who are also employed at the county.
Again, through the chair, that is already scheduled. The item I believe it's at the director level now. And it will be on the agenda on the 24th with a full analysis and discussion. If you'd prefer us to delay it to a GMP, we can. We felt it was appropriate to bring it to council since it was a concern that was brought forward, but it is scheduled for the 24th.
Good, thank you very much.
Just to follow up, and is this in regards to a policy in which we've had multiple legal opinions on?
I am not aware that that's going to that point.
If it pleases the chair, simply the policy in question is there's a gray area in our current policy when it comes to county employees who are also volunteer firefighters and the compensation that is made available to them. And so like a lot of our policies, most of them are 15, 20 years old, if not longer. And it was brought up as a concern that Councillor Kukin wasn't aware. I don't wanna say wasn't aware of the policy, I'm not putting words in your mouth because that never came out of your mouth. Just seeking clarity on the policy. And so we're bringing it forward to council to make sure that is the intent, and if it's not, we'll adjust it accordingly.
Anything else for Sheldon? Mr. Wilhelm?
Through the chair to Sheldon, I might not get a chance to do this in public, so just wanna thank you for all your hard work and also the volunteer firefighters in our fire services group. And give you a big kudos again about Jasper and the extra work you guys put in there, so awesome job. Thank you.
Anything else? If not, if I can get a motion to accept for information. Councilor Burrows?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the county fire services update for information.
Thank you, Councillor. Call the question, all in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. 11A.2, expression of interest for Destination Canada Tourism Sprint Program. Mr. Roach?
Make sure I don't lose my chair, there we go. Hello, council, good evening, my pleasure to be in front of you once again. We have a grant that we've identified that we didn't have identified at budget time last year, and I believe that actually came available post federal election, as it is a federal grant. The grant is the grant is the Tourism Sprint Program, which is a competitive application-based cost-sharing program. It's designed to help to create bucket list style tourism adventures across Canada. And it is a matching grant with a maximum of $25,000, or sorry, $50,000, 25,000 of which would have to be matching. So we actually have the recommendation in front of council is to approve an unbudgeted amount of up to the maximum of 25,000 in matching funds and to submit the expression of interest to Destination Canada. The deadline on the expression of interest is September 12th. So we'll get this done up as quickly as we can tomorrow so that we are in before the deadline. And then the option motions are that council could approve a maximum amount, so the full 25,000, or could deny the unbudgeted funds for the expression of interest application. And if you have any questions about the RFP or about the program, we will do our best to answer.
My question, how does the program work? I mean, it's essentially $50,000 between the 25 and the 25 put towards it, but what is the benefit, or how does that benefit come back besides, is it flyers and posters, or how?
No, excellent question. So if you look at the second page of the RFD and to the second paragraph, so what we want to do, we have recognized both the Geographic Center of Alberta and Hard Luck Canyon as two incredibly unique attractions that we have within Woodlands County. And the intent of our application and of this program would be that we would want to do further research and to study how we can turn those into first-rate international tourism destinations. So the intent of the grant and of the application would be simply to help us to continue or to finish conducting that research so that we can understand how to further build out those sites. It would help us to understand the market sector that we would want to be marketing those sites to. It would help us to understand what kind of local traffic we might be creating by building out those sites, doing all of those related market kind of things. The other part of things that's important with what we would want to do with our intention on the study is we do currently have two tourism operators within Woodlands County that are internationally recognized. And so it's through the Canadian Indigenous Tourism destination planning, but the Whitecourt Isga Tourism Association, which is a fairly new entity, but with several years in development. We were in full operation this year, and they are recognized as being an international tourism draw. And then the second is our Eagle River Casino. As we know, they're planning on building out the casino, the hotel, and some of their related facilities. So when you look at tourism packaging and how we can package and do our region at an international scale, what this would be the development of 2 attractions that would be operated by the county that would be at that international scale to allow those vendors and anyone else that may be going after international or even a broader Canadian audience for tourism, to give them really high class quality destinations to be able to package and pull and draw in. So it all starts with, as you know, when you're doing tourism, what's the quality of the attractions I'm going to see along the way? Or if I'm trying to build it out as this is the destination that I'm spending money and going to, what is the draw to the destination? And then what are all of the related amenities, right? So everything from the food, the lodging, the cultural experiences, all of that. So because we don't have a full map on exactly how we should present ourselves as an international tourism destination, when this grant opportunity opened up, we thought, well, let's identify our 2 very unique attractions that we have, and we'll make an application to see how we should build those out and look for recommendations on how we can get them to an incredibly high level and create 2 of our own bucket list adventures right here in the county.
Councillor Wilhelm?
Through the chair to Bert, is this a one-time program or is it gonna happen again next year, do you believe?
We don't know. Right now, it's, as far as we know, a one-time program.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Sorry, you might have covered this and I might have missed it as well, Bert. You just found out about this?
We received an email roughly about 10 days ago from Cami Curry, who is our rep with Prairies Canada, which is sort of the federal entity that does federal economic development. And while not directly related to Destinations Canada, that was the point of contact where we first heard about the grant and about this opportunity, yes.
Councillor Pressage?
If we approve this, where will the money come from?
So right now, if you take a look at the budget line on the RFD, we would have to pull the matching amount of whatever it may be from unbudgeted reserves, from operating reserves. And John may have more to add on that as well.
Well, there's nothing more to add, but normally when it's unbudgeted, it has to come from reserves, and I would recommend from operating reserves.
Councillor Dean, just checking, did you have your hand up there?
Yeah, thank you, sorry, I had to make sure my mic was on. So through the chair to Bert, you answered Reed Push's question about how the program would work. You said that there would be research conducted into how to develop a marketing program for Center of Alberta and Hardlock Canyon. Who is going to conduct that research?
We don't know yet. So the application process, basically the 3 steps that we've identified so far are, number 1, we would need to get approval from council tonight that yes, we can apply. Number 2, before noon on the 12th, we need to complete the expression of interest online. Once that's completed, if Destinations Canada wants us to do a full-on grant proposal and develop that out, then we would do that. And then within that, we would be able to identify kind of the exact or maybe closer financial amount based on everything that we want to have accomplished. And then if approved and we go well through that grant funding phase, then we would get into that RFP contracting process that we have, where we would go to outside agencies and consultants and do an open consultation, an open process if we were approved under the grant program.
Okay, and just a follow-up question. Thank you, Bert. I don't know how to say this diplomatically, but what is the benefit to increasing that exposure? Obviously, we're going to have traffic, more traffic. But can you detail what the vision is behind the program, how it's gonna benefit the county?
Yes, I'll give you a two-word answer and then I'll give you a longer answer. The two-word answer is destination development. So what happens is it gives us the opportunity to have two really high-quality attractions that help us to develop Woodlands County out as a long-term quality destination for tourists. And that aligns with a couple of both federal programs. There's a federal, it's the Northern Sky Corridor Program, which is what the feds have envisioned and have worked together with a number of entities, including the province of Alberta. And with the province of Alberta, we have of course, the Alberta Northern Rockies Tourism Strategy that we're part of. So it would align with both of those strategies and how we would actually build and layer how attractive we are and how we can bring in international and broader tourists rather than just kind of local Albertans to our area. And we would be a stop or a destination along the way as people are on their way to the Northwest Territories or Grand Prairie or the Northern Rockies or the new dinosaur adventures being created around Grand Prairie, all of those kinds of things, right? So that's part of the reason why we need more research as well, because we don't have all of the answers as to exactly how everything would fit right now. What we can say is that based on what we've talked about around the economic development table and with what's in the council strategic plan, destination development is something that we've identified. And what we want to do is to be able to build ourselves out so that we can work to empower any local tourism providers and private entities that may want to come forward. And so that's really, I think, for council, the best way to look at this is this gives us an opportunity to put a little bit of skin in the tourism game to say, okay, if we can build out these two attractions, now thank you, Mr. Private Operator A, B, C, or X. Now, how do you want to come and bring people to our attractions, and what are you going to develop for lodging or food or other things that will help us to raise our GDP, create jobs, and to do all of those things? So you have to kind of think of this, I think, council, as it's sort of a catalyst kind of a movement or catalyst kind of spending to see what we might be able to get moving on our local destination development by looking at tourism from a much bigger international lens rather than a local recreational lens.
And last question, can this be combined with the NRED grant, considering we already have substantial funds committed to that NRED grant?
I will look into it further, but Councillor Dean, at this point I would say no, because this is a completely separate program. Now, could we leverage funds that we have through NRED with this? I would think probably not, because what they're wanting is a 50% matching. So there might be an opportunity to, I'll just stick with a flat no.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cook and then Councillor Wall.
Yeah, through the chair too, Bert. We've had a lot of discussion over this type of development, this destination and stuff like that. And one of the things that I know the regional group has been really careful about is not, over destination marketing one specific area. And I'm just curious as to how would our regional tourism Wild Alberta fit into helping enhance or how does this enhance our program?
My hope would be, and I mean, there's a timeline in the process here, right? So with the grant program, any monies that we receive have to be spent and final reporting has to be done by the end of December by 2026. So between now and the end of 2026, we would have more research and more definitive information on what we could do to be able to develop out these two attractions so that they align with any of the operators that want to operate and use them locally. So I think that the best answer for that is to say that, yes, what we're looking for in this program it's not marketing dollars for tourism. It's how do you develop out a site to make it appealing so that it can foster further investment, further activity, and to increase the tourism market. this isn't marketing dollars themselves that we're looking for.
Councillor Wilhelm, and then Councillor
Through the chair to Bert, so as always, I appreciate the energy that you have, especially when you bring stuff like this forward, and it gives us opportunity to think about where we could be as Woodlands County moves forward. My problem with it is only that, it's almost twofold, threefold, is we now have 2 days to get an application and flesh out this idea that you have for it. Just let me finish.
No, that's okay.
Flesh out this idea that you have for this, and then also allocate $25,000 of unbudgeted money towards something that literally just came out of nowhere. And while does somewhat meet the strategic goals of council, the strategic goals around tourism have not been fleshed out in any way, shape, or form yet by this council or by any of the committees that deal with that. So this feels like a tail wagging the dog type situation. Rather than come up with a strategy for tourism and then search for grants to achieve those goals, we have a grant that's come up, and now we're gonna, within 2 days, come up with $50,000 worth of goals to achieve with a grant. I'm not totally in favor of that. Now, we know this grant's here and it could potentially happen again next year. I have a tough time wanting to commit $25,000 to something that needs to be planned and submitted within 2 days, that has little to no background on it, if you understand what I mean. So, I mean, it's great that the grant's there, and I absolutely do think that it should be something that's taken advantage of, but it shouldn't be taken advantage of on 2 days of notice, unbudgeted. Like, if we wanna do this, 2026 budget should include a line item for investing within tourism and promoting tourism within Woodlands County, so that you have the money in the budget when opportunities like this come up.
Councillor Burrows?
Yeah, so, first of all, sorry, through the chair to administration or Bert and council as well, because I'm gonna kind of spitball a couple of ideas here. You know, we were looking for something that identified Woodlands County as unique, right? That led to, I think I brought, how many years ago was that? 3 or 4 years ago, we found that geographical center of Canada. We didn't even know that there was a, sorry? Alberta, sorry, not Canada. Well, just wait. Sorry. Anyways, but the geographical center of Alberta, we weren't even aware that there was a monument out there. I think there's a time capsule too. But anyways, the area was overgrown. You know, we put money for it in the budget to try and develop it, and we have not to date done anything with it that I'm aware of. So in that infancy stage kind of thing, I think we'd be better off to take $25,000 and actually improve the site itself to get some local visitors in there, and they might say, hey, you know, a hot dog stand over there might be a good idea, or something, you know, make this trail a little wider or something. But at the moment, it is literally overgrown and barely accessible. The second part is, on the tourism end of economic development, I would love to get together for something like this with the town, or something along those lines, but the issue that I have in the county is, let's take Hard Luck Canyon for a good example. That's advertised by the town, even though it's a county attraction. The wear and tear, the upkeep, everything that, so the more use that it gets, the more we have to spend on maintaining it. But the economic development component, we don't have hotels here, we don't have gas stations here, we don't have businesses that are located in the county that will benefit from those tourism attractions. The town will. And I think that's an area where we need to collaborate with the town on bringing that kind of attraction to the region, rather than, you know, Woodlands County necessarily taking the front on it. And that's the conversation that I think we need to have as a council. The other thing that I saw, and this is, social media is a double-edged sword, but there were certain attractions that were in the town that got marketed so well that they were, you said it, so, yeah, overused, and the locals can't get there. So, you know, you end up in this double-edged sword, and especially in something where, you know, they're not gonna fill up a tank of gas, they're not staying overnight in a hotel that benefits something in the municipality. And then the increased wear and tear puts a larger burden on the municipal budget. And when I first came to this council, one of the things that I did when I ran almost 8 years ago was I grabbed all the council minutes and I word searched the word unbudgeted. And I found $7 million in 4 years that were unbudgeted spent by the council. And I don't wanna go on that road again. I know this is only 25,000, but I really think we have some local ability to develop this type of tourism locally. We don't necessarily have to spend money to employ another contract or consultant or something to develop an idea. And oftentimes when we get these reports back from the consultants, it's like, well, why didn't I think of that? Well, we almost did, you know, so I hope I've explained my reasoning behind this, but I appreciate you bringing it to us, but it's not something I'd be supportive of at the moment.
Sorry, just in the interest of moving things along here, I'm gonna make a motion the council denies the unbudgeted funds for the expression of interest application. Any discussion on the motion, Councillor Coogan?
Yeah, I'm to a big degree, just because the work we've been doing with the branding and stuff with Wild Alberta, I tend to agree with John, because the branding exercise, what it does is it actually reflects what is it that we want to do here, and what is it that our public, how do they view the influx of a whole pile of people here? And so unless we've really, you know, nailed that down yet, I kind of have to agree with Councillor Burrows that, you know, maybe what we need to do is first, you know, do a test run and figure out, you know, put something in the budget to build those things up. And so, you know, I don't like unbudgeted expenses. I think it has a lot of virtue to explore, but I'm really uncomfortable, you know, I support the idea, but I'm uncomfortable spending those dollars at this point in time.
Speaking to the motion,
Yes,
Councillor Prestidge?
I agree. I don't like unbudgeted expenses. I don't see a benefit to Woodlands County with this. And who's gonna benefit the most would be the town of Whitecourt, and I think they should be contributing to this too if something were to go through.
Okay, call the question. All in favor to deny the unbudgeted funds?
In favor.
Okay, sorry, Bert.
That's all right. It's a great way to start the tourism conversation, and thank you very much, council, and we'll give you some updates on the Center of Alberta. We have some exciting things happening. It's all thanks to Heather and our recreation group and Tina, and we've got some great things going on. So it's just, our reach exceeds our grasp sometimes, but we're in the fight. Thank you, council.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Bert. All right, 11B1, September 10, 2025, financial variance report. Mr. Orwa.
Good evening, His Worship and members of council. Now, before you today is the financial variance report for Q2. But before we look at the report, I think I just want to throw a few comments there. It's normally very important to note that the usefulness of a variance report is time sensitive. And we are talking of Q2 now, while we're in September. And some of these numbers might not look real, because if I were to generate them today, it will be maybe significantly different from what you see today. And based on that, I do apologize for the delay. And I think it was due to the transition process that we had in staffing. And moving forward, I think we'll be on track and we'll be back on schedule. So Q3 will look much better. But still, we have to give you Q2 reports as well that we missed. Having said that, I think I will not go line by line, but I will capture a few highlights. The first one on the revenue side, first of all, the variance that I have there, those are the variance not yet used out of the budget. That is the variance report, part of the money that has not been used. Now, on the revenue side, if I begin from the revenue side, the main things that you look at is one is the first item there is the assessment. It looks like we had some adjustments and changes there, those oil companies. And of course, if you look, one is positive, one is negative, but the impact is about a reduction in revenue of about 245K. So that will reduce our revenue there. So that is one area from the revenue side that is captured on the report. Now, the other big ticket item there would be the capital grants. If you look again on the capital grants, the county, of course, we keep on receiving that money. It's still a work in progress, and so far we've received about 139,000. That is from the DRP, and we are still working very closely with the infrastructure team to keep on looking for the balance that is left there as the projects continue. Now, again, on the capital project side, part of it is, if you remember the original MSI, now LGFF, we've not received anything for now, for 2025, and again, also the Canada Community Building Fund, again, we've not received. So we have 1.5 million from LGFF and about 300K from Canada Community Public Fund. So that's why you see that big variance there, but we're hoping to receive something in between, if not within the third quarter, but it will be shortly after the third quarter. Those are some of the highlights on the revenue side. And again, if you look at this report the way it is, you'll see some items were not budgeted for, but there are also some actuals appearing. And then the flip side, there are also some items that were budgeted for, but they still show zero actuals. And those are the ones that probably some of them we are going to see at the end of the year.
Sorry, I have a question here from Councilor Long.
Oh, I was just gonna wait till the end. I just put my hand up to say I had a question, but I can ask now.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, it's on the revenue side. So one of the big variances I see is on the interest income, and is that simply a time-based variance? Or are we actually expecting to get less interest income than expected this year, than we budgeted for?
I think it's a time variance there as well, and it's very, very difficult to predict because the interest rates depends on the Fed's control, the interest rates, and then it drops down to the commercial banks. So if the interest rates get better from our savings, then of course that number is going to be better. But if it comes down, it will be the opposite. And also remember that we've just passed our investment policy, and it's now giving us the authority to also invest on our side in cases whereby we find that the money sitting in our bank account is yielding low interest. We can pull a few millions and go for some of these GICs, depending on the recommendations from MGA.
Okay.
So you're going to see a big difference when we come to the third quarter.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on, those were the big highlights there. And again, the other big ones, of course, those transfers, those ones happen at the end of the year when you're funding the projects. Now, coming down to expenses, you can see wages and benefits. If you look at the percentages, we are just right on target. And I think we'll keep on monitoring those wages as we move along because those are big ticket items, about 6.6 million wages. And you can see we only have about 52% to spend between when this report was printed to end of the year. So I believe we are on target on wages as well. Now moving along on the big ticket items, if you combine membership and training and education, you can see some huge variances there, 77%, 53%. Those things go together in the sense that those conferences and part of the training, it doesn't mean that the staff have not been taking their training, but I think it is more of timing as well. And I could see there's some conferences scheduled in the fall. And again, in the third quarter, we'll be seeing, some of those unused money coming down, because there are quite a number of conferences coming up in the fall and some training lined up for staff. Those are, again, some of the big ticket items. One of the big ticket items that you could have seen in this report is normally the depreciation. But I took out the depreciation in the report because it is a non-cash item. And we are only putting it in the reports from the financial statement side just because we are following the recommendations from the Public Sector Accounting Board. They want us to put it there. Otherwise, depreciation is just the wear and tear of the fixed assets, but they want to see how it rolls into the report. So for this purpose, I took it out. Moving along on other big ticket items is the contracted services. And if you look at the contracted services, there are big variances there as well. If you combine contracted services and construction materials, those things go together. When I talk to the infrastructure team, and again, part of it is just because of timing of invoices from the vendors. Majority of these things happen in the summer. And that's why I'm saying the quarterly report, the third quarter should look better than what you see today. So that's just timing, and I think some of those areas will normalize as billing cycles align. Moving along, the other big ticket item worth mentioning there is on the what they call other local government, that is the cost sharing with the town of Whitecourt. And you can see the 2024, we still have about over 700,000 outstanding, not yet paid. Those were the adjustments that were made. If you recall, originally, I think we were paying about 1.5 million, and then the adjustments take place after. So in 2024, there's still 791K. That I think that was the big surprise as I was listening to the conversations. Then in 2025, we also have now a bill of 2.2 million. And again, the discussion is still going on. So that is still outstanding. We've not paid those bills to the town of Whitecourt. That's why you see those big variances. That's why you see other local governments is registering almost 97%. Depending on where the discussion goes, they might be paid, and the third quarter might look better. Now, the other thing that I would like to draw council to would be, if you look at that report, I did mention a few things on coding errors here and there. The reason is we are now moving out of the old legacy system and coming into the new system, the new ERP. And the old legacy system had about over 1,700 codes, very confusing, and we see a lot of errors happening. And I think we are taking some measures to make sure that we correct some of those things. So we will reduce some of those codes in the system. And of course, that of course will help us so much in terms of, reducing some of these redundancies and efficiency with staff as well. Then the other part that I also want to talk about is the other thing, like school education, seniors, those are pretty standard. We pay quarterly, so this is second quarter, so we still have 2 more installments to pay. Those variances will look better in the long run. Some other stuff that worth mentioning was you could see there something there called a creation expense, and of course the creation expense is tied up to the AROs, what they call the asset retirement obligations. So we keep on checking some of those liabilities. If things were to happen, do we have enough money in the liability to put those things back to where they were? Maybe I've not looked at the longer list of our AROs. Could be building, having some asbestos, it could be transfer stations. So it's the liabilities that is in there. And a creation expense is just periodic cost, which reflects the increase in the present value. So we keep on looking at that every year to make sure that we have enough. Then allowance for that, of course, that one year end we'll see, and I think they budgeted for about 500,000 there. Then as you come down, the debenture, of course, that's a big debenture that was out for West and East Mountain Road. As I flow down, the last part that I would like to comment on is on capital. So if you look at capital, I've presented this capital differently. What you are seeing there is more of a financial statement. That's what you would see in a financial statement at a very high level, because it touches on the major classes. You talk of infrastructure, the engineering structures. But if you look at the capital projects, engineering structures could be having so many projects in there, machinery and equipment and so on. So moving forward, after talking to my counterpart, we would like to attach each time the infrastructure comes to give council an update. We'll also give you the various report at that time aligned with specific projects, not at this level, because this level would only be for financial statements. As I said, I wish we could be talking about this one end of June, early July. It would make sense, but some of these numbers have already improved from what you're seeing. But generally, the comment I would make is that Woodland remains fiscally strong, and I'm seeing some light at the end of the tunnel towards the end of the year. So just stay tuned and wait for the third quarter, how it will look. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I do have a quick question if I could here, and not as much on this year, but I know we were implementing new software.
Yes.
I'm just curious where we are in your software.
So in our software, there are two major softwares being implemented at the same time. One is on the asset management and the other one is on the ERP, which is the financial side. And I think we have a go live right now, November 3rd. I'm hoping that will stick to that line, because we'd like to run both systems parallel to make sure that they align.
Councillor Wilhelm, get your hand up.
I actually figured it out, sorry. I'm good, thank you.
Councillor Kukin, did you?
No, I'm good.
Any other councillor? Councillor Prestige?
I'll make a motion the council accept the financial variance report as information.
Thank you, councillor. Discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
It's moved. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
11D.1 Health and Wellness Spending Program Allocation Adjustment Review.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As part of council's priorities to review our overall investment in our organization's team members, where we're updating our HR policies, reviewing salary to make sure we're competitive but also appropriately compensating. Part of that, as requested by council, has also incorporated a benefits review. We did roll out a significant benefits change for a net savings to the organization with increased benefits, but the other portion of the benefits is the health and wellness spending account. And so we did a comparison. We wanted to make sure that what we're offering is appropriate, and we looked at a significant number of municipalities, both rural, urban, and at the provincial government level, just to give a really good analysis. We also reached out to our partner members of ARMA, which is the Alberta Regional, it's the name's escaping me, but it's one of our professional groups of all the rural municipalities. That's the RM, sorry, Alberta Rural Municipalities Association. And so we also got a list of what the counties that decided to provide us comments with, what they're doing. We are in the middle of the pack, but based on some of the questions, and then also looking where we're at competitively to some of our adjacent municipalities. We are proposing that council consider increasing for 2026 the health and wellness amount by $150 for our permanent staff. And then for the other eligible staff, $50. It was last updated in 2023. When we look at the review and the overall costs, the budget implications for 2026, if you were to take our recommendation, is $15,714. There are multiple options before you, whether you provide that recommendation as an increase as a one-time, or you schedule it to be a review that just by default kind of occurs as a cost of living adjustment every couple years. If you feel the amount is too much and you would like to increase it but to a different amount, that's possible. You also do have prerogative should you choose to reduce the amount. We are competitive, but we are seeing that we're not completely at that 75th percentile, which is our goal. We're probably at the 50th right now, but it's entirely your prerogative and it's here for your discussion.
Council? Councillor Wilhelm and Councillor Coogan.
Through the chair to council, I think I'm in favor at this time of a one-time increase for now with review in 2 years. It's, if you look at the budgetary impact for 2026, it's pretty small on the scale of what we currently have for our expenses for staffing, but it can actually $150 or what is $50 on the other end can actually have a huge impact on morale for the staff. So I think it makes sense to give it a bump this year and have the new council coming in, do a review in 2 years to see where we're at.
Councillor Coogan?
Well, through the chair to administration, I appreciate the research you did to get to the point and where we are in the bigger scheme of things. And I think for recruitment and retention purposes, I do agree with Councillor Wilhelm, is that we do the increase for 150 and review it again. And at that time, we may have a better handle on where we need to be, like in that scheme of things. Are we losing staff because we aren't in the upper, in that upper 75 percentile? So I would definitely support the option that we review it 2 years, add the 150.
Councillor Williams?
Yeah, I was just gonna, some of these, ours is for the employee, and some of these other ones, I could be wrong if anyone knows better than me, but I believe it's just for the employee themselves. Some of these say per family. Is that something that the county would be interested in opening it up to? So if we had kids and it was something for their kids or whatever, but just a thought.
I think a person would have to have a larger discussion on what the budgetary impact of that would be if versus one employee versus an employee and 4 dependents. It could be
If I may, through the chair, I believe right now we have authorized the account for the family unit.
Right.
So the current allocation may be used for yourself, your spouse, or your direct minor dependents.
I think. Okay, and does that answer your question, Councillor Williams?
Yeah, sorry, I must have been wires crossed. I thought it was only for the employee. I didn't think it was for family, so thank you.
And I apologize, I thought we were talking about maybe like adding it for every member of the family. I think would be a large stretch. Councillor Prestige?
That's what I was getting at, it's the 150 and it can be for any member of the family.
Correct.
Kate, you done, hold up here, anyone wanna make a stab at a motion? Councillor Burrows?
I think I gotta kind of create one here.
The option 2.
Option 2 with a 2-year review, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I would make the motion that council direct administration to increase the health and wellness spending program allocation effective January 1st, 2026 by $150 for full-time employees and council members and $50 for all other eligible employee classes from the rates currently applied in 2025 with a review in 2 years.
Counselor, any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question, all in favor? That's moved. 11D2, office closure policy 196207.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The policy was brought forward and the discussion occurred at GMP. The policy, we're making some other tweaks to it outside of the discussion that we were doing anyway. We wanted to bring you the policy once rather than multiple times, excuse me. But at GMP, the discussion and motion was to approve that going forward, the county offices are closed between the 25th of December and the 1st of January every year. And so because that policy hasn't fully been updated, we do just want a motion just to cover us in the interim, and the policy will be back at the next meeting.
If I could, I thought we made that motion just for 2026, or sorry, 2025 for this year.
So the direction in the policy was for all future.
I believe, and it could be wrong, Councillor Dean, but I believe we amended his motion to be for this current year with discussions going forward, because we were looking at some of those years where the days in between ended up large stretches. Councillor Dean, if you could, I could be off.
Yeah, through the chair, what the intent of the motion, after considerable discussion, was that the CO just, the offices would be closed from Christmas to New Year's Day, regardless of how it fell in the calendar. We looked at various options, and it was just simpler to make that motion, and that was going forward.
Okay. I misunderstood the conversation we had before that. I thought it was just for 2025. Any other discussion on the motion? Councillor Wilhelm, hands up.
Do you want me to, I'll make a motion?
Sure.
A motion that county council approve December 29th, 30th, 31st, 2025 as paid days off for all permanent employees due to the annual holiday closure as per policy 1962-07.
Yeah, and this is, I think where my confusion is right now, is we have a different motion on this one as we have on online. The online motion says approve December 29th, 30th, and 31st as paid for all permanent employees due to the annual closures as per policy 196207. This one here says I must have missed a 2020, sorry, I'll just retract that, it's been a long day. Sorry, motion on the floor, any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, call the question, all in favor?
In favor.
That's moved. 11D3, census report.
Mr. Chair, so as indicated at the last meeting, we said we'd bring you a pretty deep analysis of the census results. And so when you look at the enumerated results, we had a really great turnout and a lot of involvement. We had over 93% response rate from all of our residents, which is outstanding. Our estimated new population is to be 5,254 residents. And the really awesome thing is 60% of our residents have called our community home for over 10 years. So we have staying power, and I think that's a really important thing to acknowledge. The other thing, and it was fitting that the Anselmo Egg Society was here, is when it comes to arts and culture facilities, we have a vibrant cultural community within our organization, within the county. 63% of our residents are utilizing our community halls. And one thing that I take a lot from the analysis of the census results is it gives our staff and I hope council a lot of good direction on where we can put some of our resources, particularly in the arts and culture realm. If we have such a high abundance of use from our ratepayers, and I think going forward maybe we can provide some enhanced focus if budget allows. We had over 74% say they don't use art venues, which was really interesting. We have a sizable population of our community that is utilizing recreation facilities, but by no means is it the majority of our community. And when you deal with some of the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, that's a good thing to put in as a reference point. We absolutely have users, but it is not the majority of them. But it really varies by the area. The go-to two communities for our county are Whitecourt and the town of Barrhead. With those being the two largest centers, whether it be for shopping and groceries, recreation, healthcare, that sort of thing. It is fairly geographically separated, as you can see with the overall report. Another amazing thing was that 68% of the county thought we were a great place to invest. So the work that Bert and his team are doing and that you yourselves have been doing with all these different groups, I think speaks volumes that if they're still supporting where they live and work, that's great for us. We had 45% of people that were in support of small nuclear reactors. We threw that question in knowing that we were a potential site. 36% were open to it, which was also a good thing. It's a new technology in the area. Overall, the people are willing to consider it, and being open, I think, just brings back to the link of being a good place to invest. We're not gonna say no to anything unless it makes sense, and we're gonna do our due diligence, but the community supports it. We also added some questions just further to the arts and culture sphere, given how contentious that issue was in the past. I think there's some pretty resounding responses from the community on what their thoughts are on if a contribution should occur. And if people saw a contribution was necessary, they really saw that it should strictly be through user fees. As we hear usually, roads is the top issue for our ratepayers. And this past week was no different with how dry it was. We couldn't keep them maintained hard enough with the washboarding, but we're on it and we're out there as much as we can, followed by fire and emergency and then broadband. We also asked some questions just in relation to how we should bill when it comes to firing. 69% of the county that responded did believe that it should be dealt with entirely in taxes. Another portion did think that maybe there's some portion that should be covered by the person who has the fire, whether it be a set rate or the full bill. That's up for discussion. But overall, the vast majority thought it was probably best kept under taxes. There's a lot of information there. The actual hard data that we had for census is enumerated. We had 4,894 people, but using the formula from the provincial government on the responses that we did not receive for that minority of people, it does put up our population numbers now to the 5,254 people. As I mentioned before, we could not have done this without Jennifer Christensen and all her work there, and all the enumerators and the staff that also we had to commandeer some days just to get some of the lower areas to get numbers. Our team went above and beyond, and I think with the analysis and the results, it really shows what the community's thinking on a variety of topics and lessons learned from the future years. There are some questions and more demographic stuff that maybe we'd like to get out. There was also some anecdotal feedback. We had one resident say that he's lived in Yellowhead and Greenview, and ultimately says he prefers Woodlands any day of the week as a place to live. We got multiple comments on the services that we provide at our libraries and through our community groups. There was one comment that said maybe next time incorporate the town of Marathorpe as a destination choice. They felt that it was excluded, so there are a fair number of people that had mentioned Anselmo and Blue Ridge residents will probably go to Marathorpe. But they also said that they would prefer email contact or more active engagement that way as a mechanism of communication. It is a thing that we will be looking at administratively on how we might be able to better build a form of connection with that by developing a database of people's emails. But overall, even the enumerators said it was great to work. The people were, for the most part, overly friendly, and they had no safety concerns, which when you talk with the program, people that manage other censuses, isn't always the case. There may have been a couple difficult things, but nothing major to know, and everyone was quite happy with the work that they were putting in. So I'm happy to answer what questions I can, but the data is there.
Through the chair to administration, so thank you for getting this census done. You probably don't know this because you weren't here when I first got on, but pushing forward to get a census done was one of the first things I tried to push for when I got on council, mostly because I'm a big data guy and I wanted more information. And one of the things that drove that was looking at how our division maps are set up, and as you can see from the census, like Whitecourt East has almost 30% more population than all the other divisions, like the more popular divisions around Whitecourt. And I'm wondering if council and administration, I guess it'd be future council and administration, has any drive to potentially redistrict, I don't know how to call it that, but redivision a little bit along some lines and equal out those divisions so they have a more equalized population. I know that Whitecourt East and Whitecourt Central have one very goofy borderline on Range Road 121 where the west side of the residents are in Division Central and the east sides are in Whitecourt East. So I mean, in the big picture it's probably not a huge concern, but it is very interesting to see how many more people in Whitecourt East and maybe do some mobilizing for the councillors.
Councillor Dean.
Through the chair to administration. Matthew, can you give us any examples of how this data generated from the census may dovetail into our upcoming ICF negotiations?
If I may, through the chair, yes. Ultimately, negotiations are negotiations, but I would say that what it does indicate is a large portion, not a large portion, a portion of our residents absolutely use recreation facilities in some of our ICF agreement communities. But a whole lot of our residents don't. And just from a common sense discussion approach, I would hope that any ICF partner we have an agreement with, when we show them data that says our people don't use it, the request for compensation to me, if I was to use common sense, would be mitigated and removed. So I would hope that using data and logic is a responsibility of a municipality, so I don't want to assume, but I think it would look favorably for us in some of the agreements where, according to this data, we may over contribute.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Not seeing any. Can I get a motion from Councillor Wilhelm?
A motion that council receive the census report for information.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
That's moved. Brings us to the session of our agenda. Just checking, Matthew, before we go in, you want to just kill the stream?
Yeah, sure.
It's just one motion after, so I don't think we need to continue.
Absolutely.
And when we go to closed session, just so member of the public know, that's closed to the public. It's just councillors with a closed door. Can I get a motion, Councillor Kuchen?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that council move into closed session pursuant to Access of Information Act, ADAS 29D, to discuss plans relating to personnel.
Thank you, Counselor. Call the question, all in favor?
In favor.
That's moved, and we go into closed session at 7:41. There you go, I'm gonna take a couple minutes, I gotta grab a coffee.
Just need the direct line here.